she changed the WNBA as we know it moving forward. Welcome to, okay, Erica, you was feeling the music.
Ooh, I was.
Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia Jay, and I'm here with Ashley Nicole Moss and Erica L. Ayala. And we are here to talk about all things WNBA. There's been a lot going on, and it's crazy to say that the WNBA Finals are here. But before we get into that, we have to give a big congratulations to Ashley Nicole Moss as she starts her new show,
Hey.
Sports.
Oh gosh.
Come on, Ashley.
Woo, thank
Congratulations.
You. I was like, where are we going with this one?
Yes. We have to give you all the claps, all the congrats, because it's a huge accomplishment, huge show. It's going to be you and Cam Newton.
Yeah.
And I believe when is the debut? I believe it's on the 15th.
October 15th. So we're creeping up 2 weeks out. So we have a lot of fun stuff in store leading up to that. But everyone keeps asking me, are you leaving CBS? I'm not leaving. I'm still going to be here, guys, trying to push me out. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. And I'm definitely not going anywhere immediately because there's so much to get into with these WNBA playoffs, or the finals, as I should say, because we are officially in the finals, and we want to remind you after each game of the finals, we'll be going live post game. So you have to make sure you're locked in. And the only way to be locked in, as you can see below, is to follow all of our socials, to make sure you are followed and subscribed to the YouTube page. And we understand, look, life happens, and maybe you're so overwhelmed with just the outcome of these games and you need time to decompress. We got you. Scan this QR code and we will pop up wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple. So look, there's no reason to not be tapped in with We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. And speaking of We Need to Talk Now, we were talking yesterday in the show group chat, and we were talking on Twitter. Everyone was talking on Twitter, but you know who else was talking? Fee, because she got to the mic. And there you go. There you go. And she dropped a bomb, a couple of bombs, and it it took everybody by surprise because, of course, like, look, it was an exit interview. Everyone expected the usual, the regular schmegular. And Fee said, I got something in my back pocket for you. And she let it ring. Excuse me. And she had a lot to say, but she really ripped into the commissioner and the league higher up, saying, quote, "We have the best league in the world. We have the best fans in the world, but we have the worst leadership in the world." And she alleged to several things that happened in her conversation with the commissioner, including a conversation about Caitlin Clark, saying that she, again, this is allegedly, don't want to say this happened verbatim. There's so much information about this on cbssports.com. You should definitely go and check out all of the written pieces about this. But basically, Fee says that she was told that Caitlin Clark should be grateful she makes $60 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. In that same convo, Fee also said that it was told to her that players should, quote, "get on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them." And then kind of shifted the conversation, saying that she was also told that only losers complain about officiating, complain about the refs. Just a lot. As we know, Fee tore a couple of ligaments in her ankle during game 3 against Phoenix. And she basically said, look, we put our bodies on the line every single day. She said directly, we go to battle every day to protect a shield for a league that doesn't value us. Now, since then, the commissioner has come out with her own statement, very politically correct, but we're going to go ahead and read this, and says, "I have the utmost respect for Fee, basically, Napheesa Collier, and for all the players in the WNBA. Together, we have worked tirelessly to transform the league. My focus remains on ensuring a bright future for the players and the WNBA, including collaborating on how to continue to elevate the game. Now, this is the interesting part, I feel like, of this statement. I am disheartened by how Napheesa characterized our conversation and league leadership. But when our perspectives differ, my commitment to the players and to our work will not waver. Now, the WNBPA actually came out with a statement of their own, and in so many words, here's a statement here. I'll paraphrase this. Basically, said that Fee is an outstanding leader of this union, and that when she speaks, people listen. They are confident in her words today, and that they speak to the feelings and the experiences of many. The players know the value, even if the players know their value, excuse me, even if the league does not, and they are fighting for their legacy and the future of basketball. A lot to unpack. I think that the biggest thing for me in the statement from the commissioner, outside of that first half, I think everyone kind of expected some sort of politically correct statement like that. But indirectly, kind of said that Fee was making up this whole thing. Like, at least that's how I took it, saying I'm really disheartened by how she characterized our conversation. Look, Cathy, either you said it or you didn't. Like, and Fee's going into direct quotes. Like, she's hitting you. She would have to be the greatest liar in the history of liars. Denzel Washington, Leonardo DiCaprio level actor to be able to manifest and just create multiple quotes from a conversation that did not happen and go in front of the national media and the WNBA fan base, put those quotes out there knowing that they could be discredited if they were not true. I 100% believe Napheesa, and I believe this conversation happened exactly the way she said it.
Yeah, Fee has no reason to lie. And also, we've seen the proof of what she is talking about throughout the season in the actions of Cathy, right? So we've seen her time and time again do things that are, number one, not for the players, don't protect the players, and also really aren't solidifying the future of this league. When you talk about that TV deal that she spoke about, how she said she got it for them. Let's be clear, they got it for themselves through their play and what they've done. The proof is in the pudding when it
and
comes.
Again, this is all allegedly.
Alleged.
Make that very alleged, clear. So
for sure,
yeah.
But allegedly she said this, and she's not the only one who got that, number one. So I don't even like the way that is phrased. But also, number two, when you look at the evaluations of teams and attendance, the money that is being made, etc., it actually was a low deal if you really want to get technical with it. So did you put the WNBA in the right position in the first place? So we could go through that all day, but what I really want to say is with Fee, when I watched that statement, number one, the bravery to be able to do that. Let's start there. But number two, she changed the WNBA as we know it moving forward on that podium. The moment she sat down and made those statements that are alleged, but it's the truth that she is bringing to the table, and the truth that all of the players have backed up since then. Okay. And so I'm so glad that we're in a place in sports and in women's sports where they would feel that they can do this, number one. But also, number two, Fee really put a lot on the line by saying what she said and making the statement that she did. And it has just ignited a change that needs to come in this league. And I can't wait to see when it happens and what it is. But I'm just proud of her on every single level for doing what she did on that podium yesterday.
Erica, before you answer and give us your thoughts, I also want you to kind of give me your thoughts on this. People who have kind of tried to discredit the authenticity of Fee statement saying, well, if the links weren't eliminated, this conversation never happens, and these words aren't shared to the public. And obviously give us your thoughts just overall, but first give me your thoughts on people saying that.
Thank you for the opportunity to dive into that, because that's something that people say in sports to I honestly really don't know why people say that in sports. I mean, you're gonna have to ask some of them. But it's a way of certainly dismissing anything that someone says as immediate sour grapes, regardless of if it's rooted in anything. So she could have said anything up there and somebody was gonna say that. So that's just the first thing I want to say. The second thing that I want to say is, what good does it do the Minnesota Lynx and recovering any quote unquote demerits, regaining integrity, like legitimacy? What does her talking about league-wide issues, about what good does it do the Lynx, if that's the argument, right? For her to bring up conversations that if she had them at unrivaled, as she said in her statement, then this has happened months before her exit. What good does that do her? What is the argument that, oh, you take the heat off the Lynx? What, everybody's moved on. Like, we got two teams going to the. I just don't understand that. This, to me, what I will say is, because other people have categorized her remarks as, calculated and political, and I'm like, yeah, she thought about what she was going to say, when she was going to say it, how she was going to say it, because she is on the players association executive board. She is in these conversations, and she is a direct result, and her team in ongoing for seasons, for years. We've had conversations and heard NECA talking about this, and Gabby and Stewie and Asia talking about physicality, and that's what bubbled all of these things over. But what Fee did is she didn't stay stuck on that. She didn't even get into her injury, and a lot of people, talking about Alyssa Thomas and how Alyssa Thomas plays. She circumvented and skipped over all of that to make a bigger, broader point. And in that way, it reminds me of when we had Sam Kerr in the NWSL talking about treatment of the players, and some of the organizations that didn't treat their players well didn't have facilities. It reminds me of when players like Alex Morgan start talking about what's happening to specifically Black women players in the NWSL. Fee absolutely knew what she was doing. You're absolutely right. It was calculated. It was all of those things. And never did it cross my mind that had anything to do with only or solely the Minnesota Lynx, and not even off of that loss. It had to do with bigger conversations. And because of how we saw Cheryl Reeve react, the support that she was getting, because she went down with an injury and wasn't even able to play in the last season, or excuse me, in the last game of the Lynx season. All of that, she bottled it up and put the whole league on her back in that moment. It's wild to me that people are trying to make this conversation about her being a sore loser.
Yeah. It's definitely a way to, like you said, try to discredit her thoughts, which, again, to your point, I mean, she had a full sheet of paper. This was a very well thought out move on her part. It was the ultimate chess move. This wasn't, sometimes when you make a move on emotion, it's not always the most rational, and it's probably not always the most sensible. But I feel like this obviously had emotion tied to it, but I think this was extremely clear-headed. She did this eyes wide open. This wasn't I'm angry in the moment and let me just go ahead and spew out the mouth. Like, this was very much, I sat on this for a couple of days, and this is the moment that I have to kind of share this with the world, and I'm going to use my platform to do that. Alicia, before we move into the next thing, I know you had something you wanted to kind of add to that.
Yeah, sorry. We've seen it time and time again where women have to do things like this to change history, to make things better and to make things right. And what Fee did yesterday Yes, she definitely, it was a calculated move, but that is what you need when you're going into a CBA where it needs to be historic, not only for her, but for the generations that are underneath her. And she mentioned those in her statement yesterday. So, yes, when it comes to that, you don't just walk up to a table without any strategy to make an historic CBA like this. It takes wearing pay us what you owe us shirts. It takes all of the statements that all of these players have been saying for years leading up to this. And also, it takes someone like Napheesa to have the bravery to put something together like that and strike at the right time to affect the change that needs to happen.
And
so
there's
for
only a
anyone,
handful of, I'm sorry, there's only a handful of players that have all of that in spades, no
right,
pun to the aces, but she is one of those profile players, and I don't want that to get lost, because that we hear it all the time that we want profile players to talk, and then we understand when they don't, and there is a balancing act, and Fee put everything out there, and it wasn't easy for her, and she wanted to make a statement. Now, how the league will respond, if at all, I guess we'll find out, whether that's with finding her or whatever, or with going to the negotiation table in good faith. Because another thing, and Alicia, you were getting at this, but these conversations, it's not just Fee that's saying them. She came in with the uppercut combo, but these are things that we have been hearing players say, that they have been feeling through the conversations that they're having with the league, or responses that they're having come from the league, that they are being underestimated, that they are not being given full information, that they are being asked to settle for things that they don't want. Now, that's where the Players Association feels that they are, and they've talked about that. So it's just it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here, but a lot of people really have to step up to the plate when it comes to leadership, because that's another thing that Fee put out there on blast 100%.
In that same vein, I mean, the biggest question is the commissioner at this point. To wrap this conversation up, I mean, again, we weren't there, only 2 people, maybe more, but what we know, at least 2 people were present for that conversation. And you know what they say about, recollections of situations. There's 3 sides. It's your side, my side, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. I wholeheartedly believe that a lot of that truth lies with Fee and what she said. But again, I will never know. None of us here will ever know. And it will always be one word against the other. But sometimes public opinion matters more than the facts, as we know, in a variety of different situations in this world. And I think that the reality of the situation is Fee got to that podium and shared a lot of the grievances that her peers share, and whether or not verbatim, things that she said that the commissioner told her were verbatim, the sentiment remains the same to a lot of people. And again, public opinion is everything. And the public opinion of the commissioner, even before these comments that Fee shared with us, hasn't been very high. Whether it's her messing up coaches' names when giving out awards, whether it's, these kind of weird comments that just don't really reflect the way that you think a commissioner should speak or behave. I mean, there's a plethora of things that we can kind of point to as to where her public approval rating has not been very high. And this kind of was just, I feel like, the nail in the coffin for how a lot of people view her. And again, a lot of what was allegedly said, you can't walk back from that. Like, all you can do is stand 10 toes down and be like, I mean, not that we expect her to do it, but like, yeah, I said it. But to allegedly tell a player that other players should get on their knees and be thankful for the meteorite deal that you got them, I'm sorry, I just don't feel like you can ever walk back that alleged statement, whether you said it verbatim exactly that way or not. Even if the sentiment was there, like, I can't look you in the face as my commissioner and respect you after you just said that. Like, I just feel like the bridge has been burned with her in this league. And I don't see a world where this relationship can continue in a way that progresses the league in the direction that everybody wants it to progress. The damage has been done.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a lot of things that we do not know about that situation. We will definitely keep our eye on everything that is going to materialize. But what we do know, Ashley, what we do know is that we're going to watch an amazing finals, and that is between the Mercury and the Aces. The Aces won in an overtime game 5 win. It was a crazy game versus the Fever, and they did prevail. We just have to give a shout out, though, before we even get into this, to Kelsey Mitchell, who was the 6th player to go down for them last night. And she had something that, I don't even know if I want to recount what I read about it, but her muscles, basically, I'm trying to see in the notes what it was called, but she had failure in her muscles basically last night, and also some extreme fatigue that landed her in the hospital. And she put out a statement today on her social outlining everything, but it was hard to see her go down. She was obviously instrumental in the entire season.
Rabdo.
Yeah, Rabideau. No, Rabdo. Whatever it is, they sounded absolutely horrible, and I'm sorry that she had to go through that. But we just want to give a shout out to her before we get into this preview, because she had a fantastic season. The Fever in general had a really great season despite everything that they went through. So, but going back to the final,
just to add, I can't say enough, and I think we all share this sentiment, because we're all just very much they overexceeded. I mean, it's cool if something happens. They overachieved, if you will. That's the word I'm looking for. And whatever happens. The team is so much more talented than maybe we even gave them credit for, based on what we saw in this series, in this entire postseason. And for all the Fever fans out there who kind of just put so much stock, and rightfully so, in Caitlin Clark, she's a star. We know what she's capable of. The Fever are a team that they have a great foundation. And I feel like if you ever doubted that foundation and just how much talent they actually have outside of the star of Caitlin Clark, this was the series that kind of put you and everyone else who shares your sentiments on notice. I am extremely impressed by what I saw and the type of fight that they put in. And they're going to be a team to be reckoned with, health permitted, in years to come. This is not a team that's going away anytime soon. Very impressed.
I agree with you. I think, Stephanie White probably also deserves some credit here. But the thing that I would just add to what you're saying is, but which roster are we talking about? Because they had 6 players out. That means you got to get another 6 players to take them spots. And so, well, not technically a full 6, but they had to get players to fill in, including a Shea Petty, including an Odyssey Sims, who we wrote about over at CBSSports.com. So I think I wonder if that changes the complexity of who they have as their core, given that they had to come through with players that weren't on the roster. I mean, Odyssey Sims joined the roster in August, which is wild. So, but yeah, I mean, if they can figure out the right bunch, the right mix, and then again, you have a talent like Clark coming back, I agree with you.
This might be a team that next season, Alicia, we're talking about them in our finals preview. If they can figure out, to Erica's point, the right formula of the players they had to use to fill the gaps of the players who were injured, and figure out how to make both work in one unit, we might be looking at a finals with the Fever in it next year. They're that good.
Absolutely. A formula and a balance too. When you have such a great talent in Caitlin Clark, the focus does go on her when it comes to, basketball play. There's a lot of setting up around her, right? But when you have such a talented team, it's utilize everyone to make it a team that you will see in the finals for years to come. And that is a thing that I think is going to be kind of hard to figure out, right? Because you have this great talent, but also it needs to happen because you see what you have without her. So it's undeniable. So we'll definitely be looking at the Fever and what they're going to accomplish next season, and also just the healing that they have to do, because they have a lot of players that are out with season-ending injuries. So definitely going to look to the Fever next year. But as of right now, the Mercury and the Aces are going up against each other. It's going to be a battle. You have the Mercury, who are coming back with only 2 players from the last season because they did a full rehaul. Shout out to Nick Uren, the GM, on that. But they had a full, and not that he's the only one, but I'm just giving him a shout out. But they had a full like retool of everything. And in a lot of ways, our underdogs in the eyes of a lot of the fans out here, a lot of people are even like, oh, the Mercury in the finals, yes, they deserve to be there. If you followed them their whole season, they should be in the finals, and they are there. So let's start there. But then we also have the Aces, who do have this championship background. They have 4-time MVP A'ja Wilson. They have amazing players that have been affecting this game. They have an addition in Alyssa Smith as well that has been huge, especially down the stretch. They had a season in the beginning where we were just kind of like, what's going on, Aces? And then they did a 17-game win streak to get to number 2 in the standings. And you see that they're going into the finals now. So, Erica, let's start with you. When you see these 2 amazing teams that have battled it out to get to where they're at, what are you excited for when it comes to this WNBA Finals?
You know, sometimes people use the term battle, and it's, you know, it's a little bit overkill when it comes to sports. I don't think that's the case with this matchup. This will be a bloodbath. I expect it to be physical. I expect it to be low-scoring games. I expect it to be games where the defense is looking to fuel the offense. I think the Aces, though, will probably be able to run up scores. If they really get in sync, then they can run up scores probably a little bit more than Phoenix. But you know, so much has been made of that Aces run. And what made me confident, supremely confident now, I didn't always stay there during the regular season, but I did pick the Aces because I remember Aces in the finals in my preseason predictions, because there was just something about how A'ja Wilson was talking about the Aces and how they underperformed last season, where I was like, sis not trying to do that again. Sis not trying to do that again. And they almost did. They almost messed up and did. But then they got it back. And that, to me, you have a scrappy, I know we've been talking about the scrappiness of the Indiana team. You have the physicality of the Phoenix team, but then just the sheer grit and determination that we've seen from the Aces. I don't know what's going to happen. And for me, that's exciting. Like, it makes me anxious, but like in a good way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with everything Erica said. I think you have 2 teams. One, I guess it's fair to say 2 teams that nobody expected to be in this position, but for different reasons, right? I think that obviously with the path that Phoenix had to take to get here, you go against the reigning champs, and then you go against the runner-ups to the reigning champs. And like, I think a lot of people figure like if it wasn't the Liberty, it was gonna be the Lynx, right? Because one of those 2 teams were obviously gonna be in the finals. And I think that a lot of people were or are surprised that Phoenix is in this situation. Obviously, they've been balling, but they took down 2 giants to get to this point, right? We have to remember, like, a lot of people thought that the Lynx and the Liberty were going to be the finals rematch. Like,
Right.
nobody really, everybody kind of just forgot about all the other teams just because of how dominant they have been, especially coming off of last season. I think everyone just assumed, and then the Lynx just looked unstoppable. Obviously, you know, the Liberty dealt with their own issues, but the Lynx looked unstoppable. Even when Fee got injured, they looked unstoppable all season long. And this is just the mantra. It's not how you start, it's how you finish, because Phoenix did not allow that to shake them, rattle them. They just played each game, each series, and they're in this position. And you have the Aces, who I think a lot of people just were anticipating the end to the reign, right? I think it was just kind of the situation where this has been such a dominant team. The league's getting more competitive. It's expanding because of that. Talent is dispersed more across the league than it was a few seasons ago. And it's hard to say the top dog. And they kind of look like one of those dynasty teams that have seen their last winning days, and they flip that switch at the All-Star break, and they go on this insane run and have allowed that run to kind of take them into the postseason. So you have two teams that nobody expected to be in this position for very different reasons. And to Erica's point, I think that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah, definitely exciting. You mentioned flipping the switch after the All-Star break. NaLyssa Smith was definitely a player that I think was instrumental in doing that for the Aces specifically. And that leads me to my question, which players do you think, on both teams are going to be instrumental in them winning the finals? Erica, we'll start with you.
Well, there's an obvious answer for both teams, I think. That's A'ja Wilson, Alyssa Thomas, right? Like, gotta go with who got you there. Alyssa Thomas with the she got triple doubles. Like that child she's a walking triple double. And then you have A'ja Wilson had over 13, I think, 30 plus point games for this Aces squad. Like they're just on another level from a physicality fitness perspective. Then I have players that I think need to really step up and have a good series and maybe do what we haven't seen them do consistently throughout the season. The first for me on the Aces is the point guard. We saw she had clutch points, clutch assists. She just came in clutch like a true champion knows how to do in that decisive game 5, and you're going to need more of that, I think, from Chelsea Gray. I think you also saw the clutch gene come through with with Jewell Loyd, who was supposed to be in that starting 5 and then ends up being a bench, a rotation player, right, for Becky Hammon. So, and then when it comes to Phoenix,
really quick with Jewell Loyd, what has been so interesting to me with her is people thought she was going to be one of the reasons why they would be so dominant, and she really hadn't, like in that first half, right? But I think moving her to the bench put her in a better position to almost be more effective for this team. Yes. And I know that couldn't be easy for her, but we saw it even last night that she was able to step up in different ways, even from that position. So I couldn't agree with you more that she is one of the people that has to step up in this new kind of system and position that she's in with the Aces.
And I'm glad that you said that, because one of the players for Phoenix, for me, in addition to AT, which has to be a lock, a guarantee, AT, Alyssa Thomas, has to impact the game. You have to get a solid performance also from Satou Sabally. She's one of their big 3. I mean, might as well just mention their big 3, Satou and Ka. If you can get all 3 of them humming, like that's really lethal, dangerous. But then you need somebody else. And for me, that person this season has been Sammy Whitcomb. And why I like that that you mentioned what you did about Jewell Loyd is because in talking to Sammy, she was with New York not too long ago. She was in Seattle not too long ago. And I had a conversation with her recently. We posted a story, or will have a story on Sammy Whitcomb. I don't think it's up yet, but she was able to accept a role because there was clarity. And I think that's what you're seeing from Jewell Loyd. We heard from Becky Hammon that came from Loyd because she wanted to be able to impact the Aces squad and get them to exactly where they are right now. Sammy Whitcomb, same thing. As long as both they're both Olympians. When you have Olympians that have a clear expectation of what their role is and how they can impact a game, that's the magic sauce here for both of these squads and why they were able to get to this finals.
I actually think because of all those reasons that you mentioned, you laid out, for me, I think this is actually going to be a battle of coaching. And that's what I'm really excited to kind of like dive into and look at, right? Because you already know the respective stars on each side, and you already kind of know the results you're going to get from them night in and night out, right? They're who they are for who they are because of what they do, right? But I think that the coaching for me and how you can get all those intangibles involved and get the best out of everyone that Erica just kind of laid out is a coaching thing. And for me, I think that this series, the winner of this series, obviously is going to have a star player who did star player things and role players who did role player things. But I think it's going to be the coach who's able to get the best out of that supporting cast to help uplift what we already know the star on each side is going to do. So for me, it's going to be more of a coaching battle than it is who's going to be the biggest performer wearing a jersey night in and night out. I want to see some creativity when it comes to these game plans. Two defenses that are going to go at it. I want to see defensive schemes, offensive schemes. How are you going to take, AT out of the game? How are you going to take Wilson out of the game? How are you going to I want to see that creativity from these coaches. And ultimately, I think whoever's the more creative coach is going to be the coach that is hoisting up the trophy at the end of this series.
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
I do. Well, who do you guys think is going to win? We got to cover that real quick.
Oh, dang. Oh,
I was like, yeah, Ashley, send us home. We got it.
And then she didn't. So I was like, well, let me feel real quick.
I'm kind of torn, right? I'm kind of torn. I think that the Aces have the best player. But I don't know. I feel like, first of all, I think this series goes the distance. I would be surprised if it didn't. I would be highly surprised if it didn't go 7.
Taking 7. Oof, 7.
And because I feel like it's gonna go 7, my gut is telling me if it goes 7, which I think that it will, I don't know, something about me is saying that the Mercury take it if it goes 7.
Ooh, okay.
There's something about the way that they've been playing, the fact that they've taken down not one but 2 giants, 2 teams that, they're the giant slayers. And I just don't know if that luck's going to run out in this series. I think that this is there is just sometimes a team, and we see this in college all the time. Sometimes you just have a magical season where everything just clicks at like the right possible time and you can't really explain it. There's not like a logistical way of breaking it down. It's just the stars are aligning at the perfect time. And something in me is saying like, this is the type of season that this Mercury team is having. I can't really put it into basketball terms as to why, because to me, it doesn't make any sense. And this is not knocking them at all. Like, great team. This is not me saying that they don't deserve. I just can't. There's an unspoken factor here that I can't put into words. And it's just telling me like, it's going to take them to the finish line. And like, I feel like it goes 7. I'm going Mercury in 7.
Oof. I like where you're going with that, because I think the mighty Mercury, right? They're always gonna come, you get them in the corner, you might catch a few licks here and there, but don't let them get back up. Don't let them get back up, because then you messed around, you playing with your food, so to speak, which is why I like that you said if it goes the distance, we're getting Phoenix. There's also something, my little auntie vibe is telling me that then if the Aces win, they're getting it done between 5 and 6.
Oh, like, for sure.
They're not trying to, they're just going to just, smash burgers all the way. They taking everything out of it. Yeah, I don't know. So which am I leaning towards? Oh, I honestly don't know. I don't know. Game 6 keeps coming to my mind. So basically off of what I just said, I almost feel like I'm now in real time talking myself out of my initial decision. So I'm just going to say it Aces and 6. Aces and 6.
I'm uncomfortable.
I'm uncomfortable right now. I'm so uncomfortable.
It's hard for me personally, and I know it is a team sport, but it's hard for me personally to say anything against a team that A'ja Wilson is on. So it's hard for me. However, when you look at what we have seen so far, we've seen a Phoenix team that has battled and came back twice to win it. They just reach down and they find something to get the W every time, right? And so almost every time, but we've seen 2 games of that with the Lynx for sure. So I think it's going the distance as well. I'm excited that it's the first ever 7-game series for the WNBA. So I would say Phoenix in 7. I would say that I'm still uncomfortable, but that is what I will say as well.
Well, look,
Ooh.
we are going to find out which
Take
one
it
of
out.
us is right. All three of us could be wrong. We don't even know. And that's the fun of
We've
the
been wrong a
show
lot during this
and
playoff.
predicting. But not so fun is what we have to talk about in a fun segment, our favorite segment, and that is our guarantee of the week, presented by AT&T. All right, guys. So, in this week's guarantee of the week, we're going to talk about something that needs to be addressed and be addressed rather quickly, and that is the officiating in the WNBA, specifically when it comes to the postseason. Now, Cheryl Reeve officially received her Cheryl Reeve was suspended for Game 4 in the Lynx Mercury series and was fined $15,000 for her comments following Game 3. Becky Hammond, Steph White were also fined, but they were fined each 1K for defending her. White basically said, for people who were unaware, said that, quote, I think she made a lot of valid points. I think at some point there has to be some accountability. And then Coach Becky said, from what I heard, she did not tell a lie. She said the truth. So they were fined for defending her. Reeve was fined for her comments following Game 3. And again, she was ejected from Game 3 following Fee getting injured. This is what she had to say about that situation. She said, one of the best players in our league shot 0 free throws. She had 5 fouls, got her shoulder pulled out, and finished the game with her leg being taken out, and probably has a fracture. If this is what our league wants, okay, but I want to call for a change of leadership at the league level when it comes to officiating. It's bad for the game. The officiating crew that we had tonight, for the leadership to deem those 3 people semifinals playoff worthy is blank malpractice. So this was also the same crew that officiated Game 4 of the Aces Fever. Now, the league did put out a statement. It's a long statement, but I'll just read part of it so everyone has some context. It says, quote, WNBA referees are part of the NBA's refereeing developmental program, which means that they share the same training ecosystems as their NBA counterparts. But that does not mean the jobs are equal. NBA referees are salaried employees who typically, sorry, this is not a quote. This is from a CBS Sports article. NBA referees are salaried employees who typically only focus on NBA games, while WNBA referees are paid on a per game basis. So obviously, different level of attention that they have to give to the game. I don't know if comparing or using NBA officials as your kind of marker is smart, because if we want to get into that conversation,
Right.
I can do that all day.
Well, there's a relationship there, right? If we keep it a buck
there. But Mark Cuban actually said something really interesting on his Twitter, and he said, look, like the officiating program as a whole is just not great. The resources aren't great, the education isn't great, and it trickles down to how these games are called and how these games are officiated. And I think we're seeing that more and more. I think during the regular season, you kind of are more lenient with bad officiating because there's so many games in the season and there's a lot of room for error, or at least you provide room for error. But in the postseason, where it's like one call, one decision can make all the difference in the outcome of your postseason experience and how far you can go, people have a lot less leniency, and rightfully so. And I think that it has come to a point where, as the league continues to grow, we can't continue to have officiating that is subpar, especially at the postseason level.
I think what we're looking for is consistency here, because I don't want it to get lost that if you look at that play, I mean, for my money, and the officials have spoken on this, right? That is an unfortunate basketball play that led to a very significant injury. But Alyssa Thomas, all these people talking about Alyssa Thomas railroaded her, ran into her, baka baka baka. Alyssa Thomas was not moving when or she wasn't moving into fee when the contact was made. So just want to put that out there. Another piece of this conversation that I think is interesting is the officials also, if they are not given, and this is why the Lindsay Gibbs article I find interesting, just as a comparative, if we take away from the calls as they are happening in the game and we pull back to what the structure, what the ecosystem is, if the NBA ain't getting it right, and WNBA,
and they ain't getting it right, I'll tell you that much.
Okay, actually, I'm spoken on that. If the NBA ain't getting it right and they are able to concentrate more specifically, they have a more job security in that they're paid differently than WNBA officials, then like what do you expect? If it's if you know the gold standard of this overall NBA enterprises ain't getting it right, then how do you expect that to trickle down to the entities under the NBA enterprises, being the G League and the WNBA? How do you expect it to be right there? So I think there are some things that need to happen here, including, you know, I know a lot of people were calling why the officials were still calling the games and baka baka ba. But what is the review process? How do teams, I know teams can send clips, but where do those clips go? Is there an audit of officials? You know, some people were asking for these officials to you know, to be removed and things of that nature, but then you enter maybe into union space and things of that nature. There's a lot from this conversation, Alicia, that comes up, but for me, all of it points to that the structure itself is not solid.
Yeah, there's I have no notes for that. When you have I'm just going to read one line from this that just really strikes me, is that while NBA referees are paid, or I'm sorry, let me start here. NBA referees are salaried employees who typically only focus on NBA games, while WNBA referees are paid on a per game basis and often toggle between working NCAA basketball games and WNBA games. How do you expect them to be on top of their game when they're all over the place doing different types of basketball? Let's just be clear.
Different rules.
And also showing up on a per game basis, like you're just like, hey, let me float you this amount of money this game and just come through and referee. That does not set anyone up for success. And so that needs to completely stop. It's going to take some time because they can't just start a system right away like this. But you have to have WNBA referees that are salaried referees that you know are there for, and not to say that they can't do other things, but I'm just saying you can't expect them to be really good in a WNBA game when they're just floating around and they're just like, hey, can you come through and do this? That's not good for anybody.
Prioritization.
Come on, Erica. But I'll tell you this, something needs to be done. We can guarantee that all day long, that something needs to be done about the referees when it comes to the WNBA. And it's just crazy that that's even the system. When I read Lindsay's article, I knew those things, but it was the way she laid it out. And also shout out to her for being new to the CBS Sports family. But it was like, how do you even have a successful game with a referee when this is how they even come to be the referee in that game? It's wild. Absolutely wild. Something else that's wild, I almost don't even want to touch on this, to be honest with you, or say her name.
It's like Voldemort.
Listen, so earlier this week, there was an amazing announcement that Bad Bunny will be performing at the Super Bowl halftime. And some like us, we're excited about it. We getting ready for it. You know, it's so excited to see him perform. He's always such a great performer. But Danica Patrick, she has something to say. The former NASCAR driver took to social media writing, "Oh, fun. No songs in English should not be allowed at one of our America's highest rated television events of the year, not just for sports." I'm gonna start with you, Ashley. When I read that, I get angry.
I mean, nobody told Danica Patrick she couldn't be at any NASCAR events until she actually won one. So, like, what the hell? Just saying. I'm not hearing me. It's really just the overall. I won't say overall. The response from people not all people, some people, regarding this announcement is disappointing but not surprising to me. You know, I grew up in such a culturally diverse city, and I'm so grateful to be from New York for a multitude of reasons. But for one of those reasons was because just being on a train, a bus, you're just immersed in so many different cultures. You hear so many different cultures. I mean, cultures and you hear so many different languages being spoken just even on a bus ride, on a subway car, and there's so many different foods from so many different cultures and in just one area that it just gives you a view of the world in a small way of tasting it, if that makes sense. You know, you can go to Chinatown and be immersed in Chinese culture. You can go to Little Italy, be immersed in Italian culture. You can go uptown and be immersed in, you know, African culture and Hispanic culture. I mean, there's just so many parts of the city that allow you to just know it's not just you and that America is a melting pot. And I don't know when it became this unwritten rule that you have to be an English singer to perform at the Super Bowl. Like, you don't. If you don't want to watch it, then don't watch it. And also, like, you don't need to understand Spanish to just enjoy the vibe of music. The cool thing about music that I feel like is it's just the energy it gives you. It's the vibe it gives you. I've seen people dance salsa and they have no idea what that person's saying, but it's just the vibe. It's just like what it makes you feel like. You don't have to relate to everything that you listen to just enjoy it. And if you do want to enjoy it and understand it, you got 5 months and Duolingo is free. Go figure out some Spanish.
That part.
Like, I'm so tired of people like complaining about things that like weren't going to affect them anyway.
En punto. En punto. En punto. En punto. En punto. En punto.
And
Let's
also
go.
for everyone who doesn't know like American history and doesn't have access, I guess, to the internet or books, Puerto Ricans are US citizens. Just want to put that out there.
Come on, talk about it.
Just want to drop that in there.
Like, let's go. I mean, y'all said a lot. I will just say, because I'm coming up on hockey season, I understand that Danica Patrick has attended hockey games. I don't know if she would call herself a fan, but she certainly has been asked to show up at hockey games. And do you know, Miss Danica Patrick and everybody else, that if you got problems with things not being in English, which is not the national language of the United States because we do not have one, then why, pray tell, would you be okay going to a hockey game where you are guaranteed in every hockey arena, there's 32 of them, to hear not only will you hear French, but you will hear another nation's national anthem at every single hockey game. So miss me with this selectivity. You only get angry at certain folks. I ain't got the time. En punto, en punto, en punto. That means point in Spanish. So basically, period.
I ain't got nothing to say about that.
It's just crazy to me too.
What else can we say after Erica said that? Nothing.
It's also like people who don't care about football, right? Only watch the Super Bowl for the halftime show. Only watch football when the Super Bowl's on and it's in the background at their Super Bowl parties, are like up in arms and like, I don't want to hear Bad Bunny. I don't want to. Tell me who won the Super Bowl last year, since you guys are diehard NFL fans. What was the final score? Like, stop
but
it.
Also, these same people probably have never heard a Bad Bunny song in their life, so they don't even know what they're going against. Like,
they just don't like that
music is fantastic
and not English.
Point blank. Period. That's it.
As if 50 million Americans don't speak Spanish.
Right. Got me shaking the table over here.
Like, have a problem with Bad Bunny speaking in Spanish, have a problem with Bad Bunny doing the halftime show, but don't have a problem going to Puerto Rico in December for their Christmas break, right? Pick a side, bro.
Okay, but you're gonna be drinking coqui in a couple of months.
Right. Pick a side, dog. Like, stop it.
We're not doing it. We're not doing it. I want my mofongo back. I want my plátanos, my maduros, my beans.
Right. I don't want to see you eating a roast con pollo either, since you got an issue with Bad Bunny.
Like, none of that.
None of it.
Okay.
Keep it all off your plate.
Leave all that to the people.
Literally.
Okay.
Y'all ain't eating. Period.
Period. Okay. Listen. that does it for our show. As always, if you want to rewatch or share a clip, whatever the case may be, here's all the information below. As I said, after each WNBA Finals game, there will be a live stream, and you don't want to miss that. It's probably going to be an absolutely insane series as we previewed. So in order to do that, you have to be followed, subscribe, notifications turned all the way up, and scan that QR code at the end of the show if you want to listen to us on audio. We are where you get your podcast, so Spotify, Apple. And look, Erica and Alicia will be holding you down for games 1 and game 2. I will be on the road, but just believe I will be watching on my phone and watching this very show. So like I said, make sure your notifications are turned up because you will not want to miss that live stream. So until then, we will see you. Learn Spanish, guys. Adios.
Adios.